You're listening to the 4.0. Our guest today is the Colin Koh. Colin is the pioneer in the new emerging technology in the Asian region, involved in the industrial Internet of Things, machine to machine, with almost 4 years of experience. Colin helps CEO and corporation by providing advisory services focused on regional SME implementing digital transformation. In line with the emerging Industry 4.0, he is the certified Internet of Things Specialist of the Global Science and Technology Forum and at MIT Sloan School of Management Executive Program in Artificial Intelligence and Internet of Things. Without any further delay, welcome Colin Koh.
Extremely knowledgeable about writing multiple books, spreading the good concepts by Industry 4.0. How did you start the journey of promoting Industry 4.0?
Okay, I think the journey started way before Industry 4.0. So I was quite deeply involved in manufacturing, especially the automation part. So I was the president of Singapore Industrial Automations, quite a well-established association in Southeast Asia. So I was president during year 2000 to 2005. So that was the time I realized, I think during the time people don't term Industry 4.0. So I think a lot of time people are talking about end-to-end, the machine to machine. So I was actually in Texas, US, attended a conference. They call it end-to-end, machine to machine conference. So I found that probably was a precursor of the Industry 4.0. So now people talk about industrial internet. So that was, before that we call it end-to-end, right? So that was my experience in terms of how to leverage new technologies to further improve in the manufacturing space. So come 2000, 2011, during the World Economic Forums, so people are talking about the fourth industrial revolutions. Then German was the country who very first country to promote so-called term Industry 4.0. So now Industry 4.0 become a sort of phenomenon worldwide. Until today, people talk about Industry 4.0. But manufacturing, I think the technology has been evolved, right? I think they from the first to the latest fourth industrial revolutions. Manufacturing actually leverage a lot of technologies. The reason is because human can do so much. And so I think we need to make use of technology to improve the efficiency, productivity, efficiency, and also at the safety aspect. So the first two and three, even the third industrial revolutions, we realized that we depends on one or two key technology. So for instance, in the first one, we are looking at the steam, second generation electricity, third is information technologies. So you look at these previous three revolutions, they are actually leveraged on one or two, we call it GPT, general purpose technology. But if you look at Industry 4.0, is if you try to calculate what kind of technology has been promoting, I think it's more than 10 of this technology. I would say that maybe, so instead of one or two general purpose technology, now manufacturers are able to leverage on more than one. In fact, if you are able to combine all this Industry 4.0, you probably can get 3 or 5 general purpose technology. So if you look at, by combining all this technology, right? So you're talking about the Internet of Things, you're talking about cloud, AI, additive manufacturing, and the latest one, I think people are looking at a lot of these cognitive automations. So if you are able to leverage and combine all these technologies, I think the fourth industrial revolution will be much advanced, right? So I think this is moving forward. If the manufacturing company are able to understand, get themselves educated, then from there they will say that how can all this technology can be utilized to improve their plant further, not only maybe 30 or 50%. So we are looking at exponential multipliers. So I would say that it's a very exciting times. Of course, also challenging time because technology are so new. People are trying to understand, try to educate themselves. And I think for big company, they got no problems, right? They have market, they have brand, they have resources, they have money, they have good R&D people. So I would say the big company, they, in fact, way before Industry 4.0, a lot of this advanced technology, they already use it, right? I guess you maybe two in vertical. One probably is the semiconductor. They are very advanced, right? So when people talk about Industry 4.0, they say, "Oh, we already in it," right? So no question asked. But I would say that the small size and medium size company, they really need to play a catch up. But the reason is some of these small company, some of the challenges they have is they may not able to attract talent. They have day-to-day operation need to run.
Yeah.
They got financial, maybe resources they need to
competitions.
Competition, market, competing in we call it the red ocean.
Yeah.
So, but I would say that if they are able to plan, have a plan, right, to move into more advanced manufacturing with a proper vision, with proper plannings, I always suggest them that you don't make your manufacturing plant become smart manufacturing overnight. It's over time, and maybe you probably must have a roadmap 3 to 5 years minimums, because that allow you to plan, to train your people, look at your processes. So if you look at a lot of this old management theory like business re-engineering, business process re-engineering, that was being promoted 20 years ago. But during the time, nobody cared, No, I'm doing good, I'm making money, why should I change my process? But I think the Industry 4.0, they really need to think twice, think deeper, okay, all this old concept. A lot of these manufacturing practices actually are still relevant. So for instance, the lean manufacturing, safety aspect. And I would say that they not only must have a vision that how they want their company to move, they must have some understanding. They must prepare their people. So I think you look at all these manufacturing, so-called the operation. You look at only look at three items, right? First is the people, process, and technologies. And I think I have so-called visited some of this factory, so-called more advanced factory, even the Singapore a small and medium-sized factory. Surprised to me, they don't really put technology at the first priorities. They tell me that I must have good people.
Yeah.
So they spend a lot of time training the people. So when they are able to train their people, then they say, okay, let the people figure out what is the best process. So they really need to make sure their process is in place. No wastage. So lean concept will come in, things like that. Then if they find that, okay, I have good people able to put the good process in, then where's the gap? How to even improve further?
Yeah.
So this is where the technology comes in. So of course now that everybody talking about AI and things like that. But
so you already seen so many. Is there any breakthrough you can share with us?
Yeah, I would say that the breakthrough is if you leave it as normal, Industry 4.0 probably will take another 20 years to become more matured. But I think during COVID, a lot of people learn a lot of things.
Yes.
They start to understand how can my factory run
Without being present.
So-called being disrupted.
Lockdown.
Right? So lockdown, that kind of things. How can I monitor my factory even I don't go to the factory?
Yep.
How can I get data out of the factories?
Yeah.
Even at remote. So a lot of this actually shorten the learning cycle, right? So they know that technology is important. On top of the people and things like that, process in place important. So I would say the breakthrough is they are able to understand Industry 4.0 technology within a shorter times. So because of that, they say that, yeah, I think
Necessary.
I need to do it.
Yeah.
I need to do it now. Because the thing is, they are also in a very competitive market. If the SME bosses think that, as per normal, but their competitor or their peers is already or so-called early adopter of Industry 4.0, definitely they'll be out of the market.
Yeah.
And you know that we are talking about a lot of this globalization, or now they are even talking about regionalization instead of globalization. But I would say that these two terms are a bit blurred. It depends what product and market you are in. So basically, I think the global supply chain globalization will be still around for the next 30 years because no one manufacturing company can say they can manufacture everything themselves.
Yeah.
It's not possible, right? So you still need collaborations. You need to really find the right partner that you partner with, right? Even if you have a good product concept, you still need all this supply chain to help you. So I would say that maybe exciting time, also a lot of challenges they need to overcome.
Always.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned, the large company have a lot more resources and they're dominant on the market, but small, medium enterprises, that's where they're really facing the challenges. What do you see they access the resources in order for them to jump into the Industry 4.0 era?
Yeah, so I think that if on the macro aspect, I would say that government play a very important role. So, for instance, let's take Singapore as an example.
Yeah.
We know that we don't have resources, and we still need our people to, do something. So we actually adopt a very open concept, right? We open to the world, we welcome all the people to set up business here, things like that. And from a day one, actually, we also have very strong and very clear industrial policies in terms of how to move the industries, how to train your people, how to develop infrastructures, how to market ourselves to maybe other country who want to set up the factory here or want to set up some other so-called supporting industry in this country. So in Southeast Asia, I would say that Singapore taking on industrial policy very seriously, even until now. So, but as a small country, we have limited lands, limited human resource. But I think we are good at in terms of capturing all this and put together. So I would say that Singapore probably is one of the countries that able to do a lot of these integrations.
Great. How about other countries? Are they able to have similar access to the resources like Singapore government provided to the companies?
Well, I think the rest of the countries, let's say within ASEAN, we see other countries are also having their own industrial policies. Of course, based on their particular country situation, could be demographic, could be maybe they have certain resources they can leverage on, and maybe they have enough lands, things like that, no? And maybe energy, they are able to access to energy, low-cost energy. So their policy tends to gear towards what they are good at. So I think that's a good thing, right? So of course, Singapore, we were trying to play a part. So we always encourage Singapore to be so-called a showcase, right? You put your first project in Singapore, right? Learn it, fine-tune it. But when you want to scale up, you can go to other countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam.
Yeah.
So for us, I think we are willing to share what we learn. Of course, we know that in the ecosystem, we have to capture certain value. So we are trying to move into more innovation in terms of product design, in terms of process, in terms of training, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. And also in terms of help to do standardizations right? So we promote a lot. We work with a lot of these international standardization organizations
Yeah.
to help to promote standards in the industry. So manufacturing, you know that without standardization, it's very difficult to scale up. So we always promote that also. So I was involved in a lot of this government standardization body, you know, put our input. I talk to the members, you know, what are the technologies they require in terms of technology perspective. Yeah.
Clearly, you're way ahead in terms of how Singapore made the progress. But for other company or other countries, this is such a long journey in order to achieve revolutionize the change. How do you make incremental progress and knowing that you are making the progress? How do you measure it?
Okay, I think these are very good questions. So, in fact, when Singapore try to encourage our manufacturer to go to Industry 4.0, we see there are some gap in terms of understanding and also in terms of how to measure your success,
Yeah.
right? But first thing first is, where are you now,
Yeah.
right? So we actually, our this agency in charge of the industry policies, we just spend a lot of resources and see, is there a way we can help all these manufacturers to speed up? I think you know that we have developed a standard, we call it SIRI, Smart Industry Readiness Index. This was the first industrial readiness index that is now being used by the World Economic Forum
Oh, great.
to actually assess the plant in terms of their maturity.
Readiness.
Yeah. So we promote the series since 2017. So it's 5 years.
Yeah.
So all the manufacturing company, they are aware of series. In fact, they use the series as so-called a self-assessment tools. So by doing the self-assessment, you know where are you now. Of course, you as a boss of the plant or the factory, you must have your vision. I want my vision will be like that.
Yeah.
So where am I now? Right? So what are the gaps? So the gap again, we break into three portions. One is the people. How good are your people in terms of competency? Process. Is your process in place? Then we talk about technologies, right? So I think by looking at these three, we call it building block, you are able to have a more holistic view of your factory. And the series combined with Industry 4.0, as I said, the difference between the 3.0 and 4.0 is 3.0 is more focused on factory. 4.0, we are talking about end-to-end ecosystems. So the manufacturing company moving forward, they not only have to make sure that they have a smart factory, they must have a smart operations as well as a smart enterprise.
Yeah.
So this is where you by these three, you combine, you achieve the Industry 4.0 to achieve smart factory visions. So I think this is where they can measure themselves, right? Based on what is the position now against their visions. Then they have a roadmap. Then along the way, you set your KPI, right? So of course, certain factory, they have good resources, talented people, they are able to maybe achieve that dreams. My view is for SME to achieve that, you need to have 3 to 5 years plan.
Yeah.
Right. So with this 3 to 5 years plan, you no need to do everything but you must have a vision that all this will be integrated eventually, right? So now we are talking about AI. So AI is talking about data. In the past, I think you have a lot of data, but you didn't collect them, you didn't structure them. But maybe from now onward, you have to look at your data structures. So once you have a good data, with the AI come in, you can make your plan more transparent, more real time. The boss can make decision real time. The operator in the machine, they can make real time adjustment on the machines. So I think that will be a vision for all the manufacturing bosses.
That is really awesome. I'm so glad you pinned a nice roadmap for everyone. I'm sure there are a lot of challenges. What are the unique challenges in this region? Like, as you pointed out, you have a large gap between one country to another. You have a large gap between one company to another. There got to be a lot of unique challenges here.
Yeah, I think the unique challenges here is Industry 4.0. A lot of times you leverage on technologies. So if, let's say, different country, I think they have different policy in terms of educations. So if your education are more geared towards technology portions, probably your resource are more technology aware. So you are able to leverage on technology to move faster. But I see certain country, they start to understand this. So they have actually adjusted educational systems in the way that people not only need to learn, understand soft skill, they need to be aware of technology, right? And also even they put a lot of their so-called educational system into technology focus. So I think this probably some of the challenges facing by some of the countries which in the past do not view technologies as one of the enabler for them to move to the next stage of industrialization. But I think they start to realize, of course, country like Singapore, we are very focused on technologies. In fact, you know that our student is always the forefront in terms of world competition of the STEM, right? But of course, our weakness is we have so little populations, right? And we have so little land, and our business cost is very high.
Yeah.
So our challenge is how to go into innovations at a faster pace. So that is our challenge for Singapore, right? But for maybe other countries, probably they will say that how to speed up in terms of educating the workforce to leverage on these technologies. So again, different countries, they have their own challenges. I'm sure they must have their own plan, right, to move from what they are to maybe 20 years later. Of course, at the end of the day, we are talking about GDP, we are talking about quality of life, that kind of thing. So all the government are looking at all these so-called KPI.
Yeah. Wonderful. And you and your co-author, Mr. Michael Deng, very productively wrote 2 books already, and you were invited as the industry expert to provide input to a lot of policymakers for implementing the Industry 4.0, Manufacturing 4.0. I know you're really well versed, and also you're such a deep knowledge tank yourself. So can you elaborate how that coming about, when the policymakers that invite you to be their advisors?
Oh, okay. I think we are being invited to participate in the Commonwealth country, right? So they have more than 50 over country and maybe 50 over island states. It's under the so-called UK Commonwealth communities. So they realize that a lot of their member countries who have the vision want to move into industrializations. So they are looking at what is the best practice that they can leverage so that they can set their policy right. So I think the organization have invited us, say that, okay, I think you have written 2 books. It's very relevant, very practical. So they want us to see, is there any way we can input some of these so-called best practice? So we actually provide some framework, right, in terms of at the national level, right? What are the national level in terms of setting the right policy? Of course, we are looking at human resource, we are looking at the regulation, we are looking at maybe incentive, or even a whole spectrum of Industry 4.0 so-called factors they need to consider. So I think they have taken a lot of our input, right? So they have shared with the members country. So that was the first stage. The next stage, probably they want us to involve deeper, maybe, go to certain country to provide certain maybe advisor role, or maybe look at their current stage, how can they move? Because as I Singapore has been able to compress Industry 2 and Industry 3 technology compressed within 50 years, which If you know that Industry 1.0 take about
200 years,
150 years,
150.
okay, 100 years, then the second industrial revolution also 100 years.
Yes.
The third industrial revolution is about 70 years. So from the first to the third industrial revolution is 270 years. You can see that the time has been compressed from the third, right? 50 years, 150.
Yeah.
I would say that maybe the industry 4.0 will take about less than 50 years.
Wow.
Because of, as I said, that there are so many of these technology they can leverage on.
Yeah.
And they are now having much better infrastructures.
Yeah.
So, for instance, communication, the bandwidth, we're talking about AI, we're talking about all this technology and knowledge, they are able to get it, within a handphone.
Yeah.
So I would say that maybe the time will move very fast. So again, this is a challenge. How can company move fast enough to compete in a market and are still able to survive and profitable? Yeah, so I think probably these are the few challenges, but I say it's a lot of opportunity as well. Of course, you have opportunity, you need to solve them using the technology, right, to enable you to be, still able to sustain the next. Maybe for a company, you're able to sustain for maybe 50, 100 years. I think that will be a good dream.
Thank you, Colin. And obviously, you did such a wonderful job writing the 2 books. Is there any plan to update the book, or you go beyond a region, including countries like China or India, so that people can benefit? Even myself, I love the book, but I want to learn more.
Okay, I think our first book is talking about ASEAN country from our perspective, because I was quite involved in ASEAN in terms of the business exchange together with Michael. To move into outside ASEAN, as I said, that we involved in the community, these Commonwealth projects. So probably that's the next step. We can maybe share our knowledge with other regions. So of course, we will keep on update the book and informations as we go along. We talk to customer, we talk to government agency, we talk to maybe another industry expert. What is their view? Technology, how to make technology more practical. Because a lot of times we see people just buy technology, but they don't know what to do with it, right? So I think that is going to be a waste. So if they are able to understand the technology, educate themselves, make sure their workforce able to handle technologies, then your factory will become more sustainable. Yeah, so I think this is what we think that, because otherwise, at the end, it's the consumer who benefit. If you have a product, because your cost is so high, you are going to buy it at a high cost.
Yeah.
But if you're able to manufacture it at a very low cost, at a good qualities, then the consumer will no need to pay so much in terms of wastage. So as you know that if you buy any product, maybe 50% of the cost actually go to supply chain.
Yeah.
So if you're able to improve the supply chain by maybe 20, 30%, the cost of the end product will be reduced. So I think it will be a benefit for everybody, not only the manufacturer, but also the end user. Yeah, so I think this is what going to happen when you adopt the Industry 4.0.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
You're
and
welcome.
Always, we look forward to hearing your update through the book and through some other interactions. Hopefully you spread the really good knowledge to all over the world.
Yeah, that's my humble sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.